What's going on? What it do? What's good? It's Mr. Sweat for the check here. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you've been here, appreciate y'all for sticking around. It's been a while since I post some content, but I'm back. I'm in full effect, and I'm here to chop up some game with y'all, right? So I just want to kind of give you guys some insight into my own fitness journey, right? Where I started, where I'm at right now, the trials and tribulations, things of that nature, right? So starting back in 2016, I would say fall of 2016, fresh off of college football, right? And mind you, I'd always been in the fitness environment, right? Working out, college ball, we was working out 2-3 times a day, right? So fitness was, a part of my routine already. So it was just transition, life after college football, right? So I started my fitness journey in November of 2016, right? Going to the gym every night, putting in that work. I'm sweating, I'm strength training, I'm cardio, so on and so forth, right? I'm busting my ass, I'm putting in the work, right? But I would go home, I would look in the mirror, and for whatever odd reason, I wasn't getting the results I was looking for, right? So, I stayed consistent, stayed determined, stayed committed, and over a period of time, frustration started to dwell in, right? Frustration started to set in. And the reason being is because I was not seeing the results that I deserved. Well, I felt like I deserved, right? The results weren't coming in. And as a result, that led to frustration. So with that being said, something had to change, right? Something had to give. I had to start doing something differently because I couldn't do the same thing expecting different results. It wasn't going to happen, right? So what did I need to do? I needed to change up my nutrition, number one. So what I was doing back then, I was still in that college student athlete mentality, whereas though I feel like I can survive off bullshit food and get the results I was looking for, right? So I would eat a bag of chips at work, my corporate job at the time. I would eat a bag of chips and a Gatorade and feel like I was good. Like, yeah, I don't need to eat. I can survive off this. And in college, I would do the same thing, right? My metabolism was high. We got football practice, we got workouts, right? So, and I was active. So back then it didn't really mean much, but life after ball and me trying to change my physique because I always had decent size, right? I was a little bit more heavy set back then playing football. I played defensive line just to kind of give you some context, right? Defensive end more specifically. So I was one of the heavier guys on the field. And I always liked to dress, right? Going back to high school, where I'm from, PG County, shout out to PG County, Forestville, Maryland, District Heights, DMV, we in the building, right? I used to like to dress. That was a thing back in the day, putting on nice clothes, fashion, that's the thing where I'm from. So I always used to want to wear nice things, but being in college playing defensive line, I couldn't wear certain things, right? Like the Zaras of the world or the H&Ms of the world, right? The clothes were made specifically for more slender fit individuals. That wasn't me at the time. Now don't get me wrong, I was still dressing, right? I was still putting that shit on, you dig what I'm saying? However, it was certain things that I couldn't wear and I didn't like that, right? So one of my biggest incentives after school for wanting to get in shape was to be able to wear anything that I decided I wanted to wear, right? There was no, oh, I can't fit this or this is too small for me. Like, no, I wanted to be able to put anything on and have it look good and have me feel good, right? So that was one of my biggest motives for wanting to get in shape, right? So I started to change the way I train. I did more stretching. I did more functional movement, more resistance training, and I kind of veered away. I kind of got away from all the heavy lifting, right? The traditional exercise that you guys may be familiar with, like the barbell bench press or the barbell squat. Anything heavy lifting that was tied into football, I wanted to get away from because in my opinion, what it did was put more wear and tear on my body. And I wasn't playing ball anymore. I was no longer trying to get off somebody's block and make a play. Therefore, it didn't apply to me. It wasn't applicable to where I was at that point in time, which was life after ball, right? Post football, right? So, but back to what I was saying, my diet needed to change. I needed to make a change in my nutrition, not only my nutrition, but how I was training in order to see the results that I felt like I deserved. So slowly but surely, I started to implement certain things into my nutrition, right, to my routine. I incorporated more greens, I drank more water, right, about a gallon a day, started adding more colors into my diet, more fruits, more vegetables, so on and so forth, right? And slowly but surely, things started to change, right? Things started to change. Then I started meal prepping. Then I started staying consistent with, eating throughout the day, right? And not just skipping meals and thinking I can just, survive off a bag of Cheetos and a Glacier blue Gatorade, right? It wasn't beneficial to my gains. And trust me, guys, trust me, your transition or your transformation is not going to happen overnight. We live in a microwave society where we believe that, you go to the gym for a month, 2 months, that your body's just going to change over a couple weeks or so. It takes time. It takes time, it takes diligence, and it takes patience. You have to have patience. You got to stay the course, and you got to stay committed and persistent, right? But the key word is patience, right? Rome wasn't built in a day. You didn't get strong overnight, right? You didn't learn how to drive a car in 2 hours. No, it takes time. But like anything, the more you do it, the more you get accustomed to it, and the more it starts to become routine, the more it becomes second nature. Whereas though you just go, you get up and go. You don't really have to think about it, right? So understand that, like I mentioned, I started in about November of 2016. Guys, I didn't start seeing real results, no funny shit, until spring of 2018. So we're talking about a whole year and some, almost a year and a half, if you will, if you think about it, right? And at that point, so I didn't start seeing real results until spring of 2018, right? And at that point, I really started to see the definition in my body. I really started to see the abs. And when I started to see that, it was go time. I put my foot on the gas, I stepped on that bad boy, and I just kept going. Now, like I was already a disciplined person, right? So that was never my issue. My issue was understanding proper nutrition, having a more nutrient dense diet, right? Having a more whole food diet, right? Getting away from the processed foods, getting away from fast foods, getting away from sugary foods, right? And incorporating more nutrient dense foods into my nutrition and, my day-to-day eating, right? And that's what took me over the top. And I tell people this all the time. I tell my clients even more specifically, the exercise will always play a back role to the nutrition, right? You can't outwork a bad diet. You can't outtrade a bad diet. You've heard that 1,000 times, but I'm just going to reiterate it to you, right? You can't outtrain a bad diet. You can work out all you want. You can sweat all you want. You can exercise for 24/7, 365. But if you leave the gym and you go put some bullshit in your system, you just wasted your exercise. You wasted your time. And that's going to lead to frustration, and that's going to lead you to quit, depending on your mental, right? Or depending on the individual that you are. So if your nutrition is in disarray, or you have no idea of how to eat and how to properly fuel your body, then you kind of already lost the game. Sad to say, right? Because it comes nutrition, then exercise, right? It doesn't come exercise, then nutrition, right? Because you can naturally lose weight just, by eating clean over a period of time. I tell people this all the time. The kitchen is, the kitchen is to, your body is made in the kitchen, right? Your body is made in the kitchen and sculpted in the gym. And what does that mean? Think of your body like a statue, right? Think of your body like a statue, right? The kitchen is the statue itself. The gym is the chisel that's carving the body, that's sculpting the body, right? To have it take shape, right? I tell people this all the time. You gotta fuel your body the correct way. The food is very important. The food is vital. The food is imperative, right? So in order to see the true results from your hard labor, from your hard work, from your time, effort, and energy, is you gotta be putting the right things inside your system. Think like this, right? Think of your body as a foreign vehicle, a Bugatti, a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, Maserati, Porsche, the whole nine, right? Think of your body like that, right? You're not gonna go to the gas station and you're not gonna put 87 in your V12 engine. You're not gonna do that, right? Because what's gonna happen? You're gonna blow your damn engine. You're gonna cook your vehicle. Now you out of money, right? Now your vehicle is performing poorly, right? Same thing with your body, right? You're not gonna go to the gym bust your ass for 2-3 hours or an hour and a half, whatever the case may be, and then go put some Popeyes in your system, or go put McDonald's in your system, go put Burger King in your system right after a great workout. Now you just wasted your time. Now you're putting low grade into, a high performing vehicle, which is your body. You got to think of your body as a high performing, high operating vehicle, right? So when you look at it in that scenario, right, you would want to do everything to keep your body, your vehicle, operating at a high level, a high degree. And the only way to do that is you got to fuel it correctly. You got to be doing the right things over a period of time to keep your body, keep your vehicle operating at an optimal level, operating at a very high level, operating at a level in which you can perform day in and day out, right? So as it stands right now, it's 2025. I look good, I feel good. This fitness journey it's ever going. There's never an end point to your fitness journey, right? You don't get to a point where you be like, oh yeah, I made it, I achieved, certain goals, I hit, certain milestones and it's over with. You don't want to look at your fitness journey like that, right? Because it's so easy to revert back to poor habits. It's so easy to take your foot off the gas and start to regress, right? It's so easy to be able to do the things that you used to do and go back to who you used to be, right? You never want to take your foot off the gas as it pertains to your fitness journey. It's a lifetime commitment. It's a lifetime commitment, right? You got to put in the work every day, right? Just like how you wake up, take a shower, brush your teeth every day, you have to treat your fitness journey the same exact way, right? Because there's always work that needs to be done, right? I feel good, I look good, but I'm gonna keep working at it, right? Because there's one thing to get the results, is another thing to sustain the results and maintain the results, right? And that takes even more work than actually getting there. It's one thing to get there, right? But once you get there, how do you keep it there, and how do you improve on what you've already achieved as far as your body? You got to keep going. You got to keep pushing. You got to keep doing those things day in and day out that got you to where you were. And, and it's, a lot of times you got to start to do things differently. You got to implement other things into your routine, into your, to your habits that allows you to grow and elevate beyond where you are, right? A lot of people look at me like, oh my gosh, I would trade anything to look like you, or like, you got my dream body, or this, that. That's cool and all, right? And I'm like, thank you, I appreciate that, but I never get beside myself, right? I never let that thing, those words or those compliments get to my head, because I know that there's always work that needs to be done, and I'm always trying to improve. If you don't know me already, or for those who know me, they know I'm all about self-improvement. That's my motto. No sweat, no check. If you ain't sweat, you ain't work. Self-improvement is always on the menu. Let's work, let's tap in. Every day is another opportunity to improve. Every day is another opportunity to get better. And that's my mindset. How can I grow? How can I get better? How can I elevate to the next level, right? There's levels in life. Yeah, I'm at a good level right now, but I'm trying to break through that next level. I'm trying to get to that next stage. I'm trying to find that next breakthrough, right? And it's all about, taking inventory. All right, cool. Yeah, I got a nice body, right? But how can I make my body nicer? What can I do to keep my body functioning at a higher level? What can I do to keep my mind operating at a higher level than where it's at right now? What can I learn? How can I strengthen myself in more ways than none? More ways than one, pardon me, right? So it's not all about, getting to a certain physique or a certain body type and just being like, all right, cool, yeah, I did the work, I got here. Now it's time for me to take my foot off the gas, right? Now you got to put your foot on the gas. You got to keep it there, right? You know what I'm saying? Because it's a competitive world. We live in a competitive world, right? And even though it's you versus yourself, you don't want to look at anybody else's journey. You don't want to compare yourself to anybody else. It's you versus you at all times. However, understand that it's a competitive world, and there's people around you that are trying to get better, that are getting better, right? And they're not taking no for an answer. They're not settling for the bare minimum. They want the best out of life, whether that be their body, their mental health, their finances, their relationships, their spiritual energy. They want more. They want the best out of life. And I do too. You competing against me, even though you're not, but indirectly, you're in competition with me as well, right? That doesn't necessarily mean you got to look at me and compare yourself to me. I don't want you to do that. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not looking at you and comparing yourself to anybody but myself. Wanting to be the better version of myself and beat the person I was the day prior. That's the goal. How can I better myself the next day and the next day and the next day and the next day? Never getting comfortable, never getting complacent, never being stagnant, and never remaining the same. If you're remaining the same, unfortunately, you're getting worse, right? Because life will pass you by. So if you're not figuring out ways to better yourself, to improve, to elevate, to get to the next level, sadly, you're doing yourself a major disservice, right? So I encourage you to figure out ways to improve. There's always work that needs to be done. That's my primary message for you guys. There's always work that needs to be done. Never settle, never get comfortable, never get comfortable. We live in a very competitive world, cruel, wicked world, and it's cutthroat out here. So if you're not figuring out ways how to get stronger, not only physically, but mentally and spiritually, man, you're gonna fold. When times get hard, when adversity hits, it's gonna throw you off your rocker. It's gonna move you off your pivot. You're gonna get swayed with the wind, right? When life hits, you going down, you getting knocked out, one hitter quitter, you going down to the ground, and you're gonna stay down there. So understand, use fitness as a pillar. Use fitness as an anchor, right? To keep you grounded. Also coupled with other things, right? You want to have a strong spiritual foundation as well, but use fitness as a primary pillar to keep you grounded, right? And use fitness as a way to equip you with the tools necessary to combat the everyday challenges of life, because life is going to get difficult, bruh. It's hard out here. I don't know if you guys watch the news or you see what's going on in life, man. People are going through some shit right now. And don't get me wrong, like, shit ain't sweet on this side either, man. You know what I'm saying? Life is always going to be a challenge, but I tell people this all the time. Life is going to happen to you. It's happening to me. It's happening to everybody around you, right? So don't feel like you special. Don't feel like, life is just kicking your ass. No, it's kicking everybody's ass. But I tell people this all the time. It's never about what happens to you, because shit going to happen to you, good and bad. It's never about what happens to you. It's how you respond. Are you going to run and tuck your tail? Or are you going to come out swinging, right? And try to fight your way through life, roll with the punches, because you're going to get hit. You're going to get hit. You're going to get snuck. You're going to get hit directly in your nose. You're going to get punched in the mouth. You're going to get punched between the eyes. Your shit might water up a little bit, right? You know what I'm saying? You might shed a tear or two, and that's okay. But how are you going to handle that? How are you going to deal with that? How are you going to take what life throws at you and keep it pushing, keep it rolling, roll with the punches, right? Use fitness as that pillar. And you don't have to be in the gym. That's a misconception. Oh, I don't, what I'm saying? I don't want to go to the gym. You don't have to go to the gym. But please, for my sake, for your own sake, right? For your own mental fortitude and capacity, find some time to exercise your body. It don't gotta be long, right? An hour 30. Do something. Just don't do nothing, right? And that's another issue that's going on these days. People they're sedentary. They're not moving. They're not moving their body. They're not pushing their mind. They're not training their mind. And when life hits, they fold, right? Or their nutrition is poor. You got a lot of people walking around here with bad attitudes, negative mental processes, negative mental thoughts, and everything just is negative to them, right? Their attitude, how they speak, their energy, their aura. A lot of people you just don't even want to be around just because of how negative they are in their presence. You can feel it. You can feel the energy. And that's because their nutrition is bad. They're not exercising. There's no optimism in them, right? Because they're not doing the things necessary or required to better themselves, right? They get complacent, they get stuck. And as a result, they feel like they're trapped mentally and physically. Some people that they got poor physique, poor attitude, poor nutrition, poor habits. You don't want to be that person. You want to be the person that says, you know what? I'm going to take my life by the horns. I'm going to be in full control of my life. I'm going to be the driver of my life. And we're going to drive to the finish line. We're going to get to the finish line. We're going to see success, right? It's not easy, but it's doable. And you're fully capable, right? Start. Just start. You don't got to be perfect. You don't got to be the best, but you just need to try your best, right? I tell people that all the time as well. You don't got to be the best, but as long as you put forth that effort and you try your best, then you can't lose. But if you don't try, you're not going to win. You got to play to win. You know, you got to play to win. You got to play. Stop playing defensively. Stop being scared, right? You got to play to win. A lot of people are playing not to lose, right? But when you have that mentality, playing not to lose, you're going to lose anyway, right? Because, you know, you're not all in. You on the fence. You halfway in, halfway out, right? You know, there's people like me, I'm playing to win. I'm trying to put up points. I'm trying to put up the numbers. I'm trying to score, right? I'm trying to get the dub. Coach put me in the game. I got my jersey on. I'm hot. I'm ready. You know, I'm pumping up my teammates, man. Let's go. Let's get to it. Let's get that W. But if you playing not to lose, you're going to lose. Playing not to lose mentality, that tells me you on the bench, right? You ain't even warmed up. You still got your warm-ups on. You know what I'm saying? You in your mind, you think you're like, hey, coach, man, don't put me in the game. I ain't trying to go out there. It's too much pressure. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm going to score. I don't know if I'm going to be productive. I don't know if I'm going to get the ball. I don't know if I'm going to fuck up. When you think like that, you're going to lose. You already lost. You know, you're not even in the game. I don't want those people on my team. I don't want those type of people around me. I don't want that energy around me, because that energy is not gonna force me to get out of my comfort zone. A lot of y'all too damn comfortable. You're too damn comfortable, right? You're too damn comfortable. You procrastinating. You're not putting forth your best effort. You bullshitting. You are bullshitting, right? You just letting life casually pass you by, right? You half-stepping, you half-assing, right? You know, you're okay with the bare minimum. You're okay with just getting by. You're okay with just the average, right? You're okay with getting what everybody else got, right? Nah. You know what I'm saying? We were created to have, or to get the most out of life, to live the most abundant life possible. Health, money, financials, relationships, everything, right? If you don't want the best for yourself, then what are you even living for? Why are you even here? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing? Bro, we're here to get the most out of life, man. We were created in God's image. He wants us to get the most out of life. He wants us to be the best version of ourselves. We were created in his image, right? In his image, the Most High. All praise to the Most High, you know, while we're at it. But if you don't want the best out of life, what life has to offer, man, why are you even here, bro? And that's no funny shit. I'm saying that with all seriousness. I'm heart attack serious, man. You gotta change your mentality, change your social circle, change your environment. A lot of us are too comfortable, and as a result, we're gonna continue to get what everybody else got. And a lot of people ain't got no results, ain't got no progress, ain't making no moves. They're okay with the bare minimum. So if that's you, hey man, keep doing what you're doing, man. You know, when I'm at the top, I'll be looking at you at the bottom like, hey man, how's it down there, man? You know what I'm saying? It's real fun up here with all the winners, man, with all the overachievers, man, with all the people that succeeded, all the people that took a risk, man. We up here looking good, feeling good, you know what I'm saying? Enjoying the fruits of our labor, man. It look real crowded down there with all the bottom feeders, man, with all the crabs in the barrel, man. It really look real crowded down here. It's real lonely up here, man. It's only a few of us, man, but it's all good, man. We living good up here. You dig what I'm saying? That's what you want. That's how you need to think, man. So if you got people around you that's pulling you down, you got people around you that's talking negative, you got people around you that's doubting your dreams, doubting your ambitions, doubting your goals, you got people around you that got negative self-talk, you know what I'm saying, that got poor habits, vices, you feel me, doing things that are, you know, moving them backwards in life, man. You got to get away from those people, man. You got to separate yourself from those people, man. You got to disengage from those people, man. You know what I'm saying? You got to get around winners. You got to get around overachievers. You got to get around people that's trying to excel, trying to get to the next level. Those are the type of people that you want to surround yourself with. High-level thinkers. People who are not afraid to take risks. people who are trying to better themselves, people who are trying to grow, people who are trying to make moves and be the best versions of themselves. Man, I can go on and on and on and on, but this is to encourage you. This is to inspire you. This is to give you that kickstart, that jump start that you may be looking for, right? Time is moving. You gotta be moving with it, or it's gonna move against you. You don't want to be that person 20, 30 years from now looking back like, damn, the fuck, where did all the time go? What did I do with myself? What did I do with all that time? Where's my progress? What do I have to show for? Why didn't I take this risk? Why didn't I jump on that opportunity? Why did I disassociate myself with those people that was holding me back, right? You don't want to be looking back and live with that regret, because that regret is going to hurt more than the effort it takes to put in the pain right now, putting the effort right now, putting the time right now to better yourself, to elevate, to get to the next level. Put in the work right now, today. After you watch this video, go put in that work right now. Make a plan, write it down, write your goals down, look at it. Speak it out loud, speak into existence. I'm gonna get this, that, and the third done, right? And after you smash those goals, write down some more. And always set high goals, right? Always set high goals, because if they're too easy, they're not gonna challenge you to get out of your comfort zone. They're not gonna challenge you to be better. They're not gonna challenge you to grow. So don't make the goals too damn easy where it's just like, I'm just gonna make these goals just, easy enough so I can accomplish them. No, you wanna set high goals, right? Something that's gonna force you to come out of your shell and to be a better version of yourself, right? Don't set low-level goals, right? Set high goals. So even if you don't achieve them, right, at least it pushed you beyond a certain level that you were not comfortable with getting to prior to, right? Think about it like that, right? If you aim for the moon, you're gonna land on the clouds, right? But if you aim for the ceiling, you're gonna land in your bed. You dig? Crazy analogy, but take what you want from that, right? If you aim for the stars, you're gonna land on the clouds. But if you aim for the ceiling, you're gonna land in your bed. So, set goals for yourself. Get out of your comfort zone. Push yourself. Get around people and environments that force you to grow, that force you out of your comfort zone, that force you to want more out of life and do more for your life, right? Disengage from negative people, negative energy, negative family, anything that's negative, you want to veer away from, you want to disengage from, you want to take a step back from. Take some self-inventory and identify those areas and those things that are holding you back, and get around people, places, and do things that force you to grow, force you to think differently, force you to move differently, and force you to operate differently, right? That's my advice for you. It's Mr. Sweat for the check. Self-improvement is always on the menu. I love you guys. Hey, please share this with a friend. I'll be dropping more and more videos just like that, just to kind of talk to you guys, right? And encourage you guys to do better for yourself and to push yourself and elevate your mind and your body to the next level, man. Self-improvement is always on the menu. Let's tap in. Until the next time, self-improvement is always on the menu. Let's tap in, let's work. You dig?